How's it going, guys? Real Radman here, back at it again with another video. And today we're going to be talking about the NASCAR race that occurred yesterday, the one in New Hampshire. It was an okay race. Obviously, from a fan standpoint, it was probably a little bit dull in the middle part of the race. I look at it as a driver standpoint, and from a driver, you can understand that there was good racing, but definitely from the fans, it was a snooze fest for most of it until the end where it livened up a little bit. So I'm just going to talk about the race. Make sure you guys leave your comments down below so we could discuss about it a little bit. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So Jimmy Johnson started on the pole, and that was good news for Hendrick Motorsports. They were struggling for a little bit, and it was good news to see that Jimmy had speed in his car. Elliott was also in the top 10, and I think Casey Kane was also in the top 10 as well. So it looked like Hendrick Motorsports had some pretty good speed, but Jimmy couldn't hold on the lead for very long. He only held on for maybe a lap or two, and then Kyle Busch took over. The Joe Gibbs cars obviously were very, very strong. Truex, Busch, Edwards, Hamlin, and Kenseth, all incredibly strong. And they were at one point they were running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's when you know that Joe Gibbs really does have a handle on the sport right now. They are absolutely dominating. For those of you who don't know, Truex is a Joe Gibbs car with the super strong alliance they have between Joe Gibbs and Furniture Row Racing. So he's basically a Joe Gibbs car, for those of you that didn't know. Hendrick Motorsports, they go their third straight race without a top 10. Obviously, Chase Elliott probably could have gotten a top 10 if he wasn't involved in that accident with Truex. So what happened was Truex, his shifter broke, and Elliott was the car behind Truex on the restart. Truex was stuck in fourth gear. I think you guys know how that ended out. Elliott was stuck right behind him. A lot of contact. Eventually, his car did have a malfunction. I think it was a flat tire. I don't remember. I think it was a left rear flat tire, if I'm correct. But yeah, he had a left rear flat and then spun out. Kevin Harvick, I want to talk about him a little bit because he did have a fast car. It was unfortunate for him that his pit crew still cannot get it together. They definitely had a lot of horrible pit stops today. And that definitely, well, yesterday, since I'm talking on Monday, and that definitely did hurt them in the long run. And Harvick, he did have a good car. I don't know if he was maybe able to contend for a win. He probably was, but with the pit crew mistakes and all that, it was kind of difficult. Tony Stewart finishing second, another great run for him. I'm very glad to see Tony running well. It's been maybe 3-4 years since I've seen him run like this, so it's very nice to see him actually running well again in his last year. Hopefully he can do well in the chase, but for now, let's just hope he continues to run pretty well. Joey Logano, he was struggling throughout most of the race, but somehow ends up finishing third, so that was kind of crazy. So let's just talk about the end of the race. It was a snooze fest from the middle of the race on, and then we have a hell of a lot of cautions with around 50 to go or something like that. I remember the Larson-Kane wreck, a lot of contact in the back, obviously the Truex Elliott incident. There was a lot of crazy racing. Brad Keselowski and a lot of other drivers getting into it. I remember Denny Hamlin and Jamie McMurray going side by side, hitting each other because they were a little bit ticked at one another. It was a crazy, hectic ending to the race. But then again, Matt Kenseth did pull away, and he won by about a second, and that was pretty much it. Now, one thing I would like to say is Kenseth did fail post-race inspection. Now, for those of you wondering or asking, will his race win be suspended or whatever that is? No, his race win will not be suspended. That race win is for him to keep. Maybe you'll see a fine, maybe a points penalty, depending on how severe the infraction was, whether it was a P1 or a P5. Until then, I don't think anything will happen to Kenseth. We'll obviously get a decision on Tuesday. Maybe a fine, maybe a crew chief suspension, we'll see. But nothing that will affect this race, and nothing that should affect the chase either. He's already locked in, so that's not a problem. The post-race inspection fail is really no big deal in my mind. So yeah, guys, if you have any other thoughts, just leave them down in the comments. I feel like I've touched on everything that I can think of in my head. And yeah, the race was decent. Obviously, next week is going to be interesting with Gordon maybe being in the car for the number 88 car. And hopefully Dale Earnhardt Jr. can come back and drive at Indy. But if he cannot, I'm telling you, that's going to be a huge story with Jeff Gordon getting back into the race car. He's obviously my guy, and I'll be rooting for him and cheering for him. And we'll see what happens. Other than that, I think the Brickyard should be a good race. It is good every year. Sometimes it can get a little dull because of the lack of passing. But with this package, we will see how the race folds out. So until then, guys, hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Peace out.